We were talking about this aerial photo last time and all the things we could look for and see there, remote sensing and archaeology. What kind of things do archaeologists find? We call it occupational debris. That is a very general term. That means any junk left behind by anyone who ever lived there. They occupied the site. Occupying the site could just be you're only there for an afternoon picnic. You just walked by, drop your pocket watch or whatever. That's occupational debris. Human beings on the site discarding things or losing things. Human remains, that is the bones of people. We do find them, by the way. In Israel, that presents a problem because a lot of people try to shut you down if you find any human remains. In Jordan, however, I've worked with a lot of human remains. Sorting bones, sorting human bones. I have a whole table of bones, and it was up to me to sort them. Especially, I got the toe bones and the hand bones. By the way, there's a lot of toe bones and hand bones, foot bones and hand bones. And you can tell if they're left or right. You can tell the size. We tried to figure out the minimum number of individuals in a grave or in a tomb. That was our goal. Objects of art, that's what gets the most press. Really nice things, in other words. Statues, portraits of some kind. Items made out of finely crafted things. Pottery, of course, is what we find the most of. Pottery and potsherds, usually broken pottery. So when you go on Saturday to dig with me, you will find some pottery, right? And no doubt about it. So just think about stuff we find there. We find pottery, a bone, usually animal bones. We haven't found any human bones yet. Charcoal from a fire, campfires, that sort of thing. We did find a work stone. We've only found a couple of those. Okay. A lot of shells. The shells are actually there because of humans, because they were eating what was inside the shells, and then they discarded the shells. So that's occupational debris as well. A lot of pottery, and pottery becomes very important, especially in the Middle East, because there's so much of it and so readily datable. Buildings. Sometimes we find entire buildings or wall lines, corners, you know. Inscriptions on stone. I have found inscriptions on stone. I've found inscriptions on plaster. I've found inscriptions on pottery. And of course, coins have inscriptions. Coins are another thing that we find. By the way, coins were not invented until the 6th century BC. So if somebody tries to tell you any differently, they're wrong, basically. They're getting things mixed up. In the Bible, for example, in the Old Testament, it mentions shekels, but shekels were not coins in the Old Testament. They were just a weighted piece of metal, usually silver. 1 day's wage. Coins then came about in Asia Minor, or what today would be Turkey, in the 6th century. Sometimes we find written documents. Somebody in here is going to do the site of Qumran. Who is it doing? See? A lot of written records. When you go with me next summer to Israel, I will take you to the Shrine of the Book, where you will see the Dead Sea Scrolls. We can go to Qumran as well, where you can see the site. Yes?
That's what I was trying to. When you find like human remains on an archaeological dig,
Yes.
do you have to deal with like local laws, even religious laws about like touching dead things, or
Well, that
is it
depends.
just kind of like excused because?
No, there are a lot of rules about dealing with human remains depending on the country. You just follow the country. In Israel, it's not illegal to dig up ancient remains. However, what happens is a lot of protesters come and want to shut down your site. So it's not actually illegal, but people avoid it because of that.
Why?
They say it's their ancestors, but these are like Hasidic Jews. Yeah, no, they have no proof of that. I mean, just generally, we're Jewish. This is a land where Jews lived. These bones could well be, are probably Jewish, therefore probably our ancestors. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't really completely follow
It's not like.
And here in the United States, of course, any native remains are also highly controlled, you know.
There's actually big in
these
Florida,
days.
that happened a little while ago, where people found like an ancient church, not ancient, but like an old, like early American, like a
Yeah.
settlement church.
All right.
And people were actually kind of mad about them digging up, I think it was like a Catholic group, was mad about them digging up bones from underneath the church, because they didn't know that there was a burial site, like it was like an underground secret thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
A crypt.
yeah.
I like the Tales from the Crypt, personally. Let me put the rest of this up before we end. We get one screen today, but we worked on our sites. Tools and weapons, obviously a lot of tools and weapons. Those are a lot of made out of stone, often made out of metal. You know, could find other tools. You could find a tool made out of pottery even. It just depends on how it's doing. Botanical remains, things like grains that have been carbonized. Sometimes things that have made their way through the digestive system of animals. And then that has been used as waste, which is then burned and make a fire, and then it gets carbonized. Cult objects, religious objects, fortifications. All right, we'll end it there for today.